Well, I'm so glad you've joined me for another Explore the Bible study session. We're continuing our study of the book of Proverbs and the Song of Solomon as we continue to look at how we can live godly in a foolish world. Today, we're going to be focusing on Proverbs chapter 31. So grab your Bibles and let's get ready for Bible study. I want to ask you though first, are you a people watcher? I love to observe people, whether it be a mom or a dad talking with their children as they walk together, a group of adults enjoying some time together at a local park, an individual as they stroll down a path, or a young couple who are in love just interacting in a restaurant. Perhaps, though, one of the greatest blessings is to observe a loving mom as she spends time caring for her young baby, cradling, singing, comforting, and talking with her young baby. You know, most of us go through our days carrying out our task and never thinking that others might be observing our lives. Yet we must understand that each of us has someone who is observing our lives, and they're taking cues from how we act. This is why growing in godly wisdom is so important. We need to be living honorable lives. This kind of life is only attainable as we grow in godly wisdom. The book of Proverbs ends appropriately with the author sharing with us observations of a godly and wise wife as she goes about her daily routines. We can learn a great deal about the honor that comes from living a wise and godly life as we observe how the author describes his observations. The focus of this session will be on chapter 31, which was given to us through King Lemuel. While we don't know much about him, we do know he credited his mother for the Proverbs in this chapter based on what he states in Proverbs chapter 31, verse 1. He describes 3 valuable instructions she taught him that he should put into practice as he reigned over his kingdom. Finally, at the conclusion of chapter 31, God led Lemuel to write a poem describing the honorable life of a godly and wise woman. In this case, he's describing a wife. However, the things described should be pursued by all of us who are striving to live honorable lives. As we look at this passage, imagine you are watching a godly wife and mom as she goes about her weekly routine. As you read about her attributes, examine your own life and consider whether you are living an honorable life that exhibits godly wisdom. Proverbs chapter 31:10 begins with the incredible value of being a person of noble character. It states, "Who can find a wife of noble character? She is far more precious than jewels." A wife of noble character was admired by Lemuel. He knew that a wise husband would recognize her worth and that not only her wisdom, but her entire being was far more precious than jewels. We must not only observe the life of a godly woman such as this, but we should desire to emulate her character. She will have a great deal of influence on all those around her, her husband, her children, other ladies, other men, other children, and the entire community. This is the kind of character that we should all desire to pursue, whether you're a mom, a wife, a father, a husband, son, or daughter. This kind of character is only possible as from someone who has sought and embraced a personal relationship with Jesus Christ. But what does a wife of noble character look like? What character traits would define a wife or anyone of noble character? Beginning in Proverbs chapter 31, verse 11, Lemuel describes the traits that would be evident in someone of noble character. First, a person of noble character is trustworthy. Verse 11 states, "The heart of her husband trusts in her, and he will not lack anything good." Lemuel tells us that a noble wife's devotion to her husband has a lasting effect on him. His heart serves as a reservoir of complete confidence in her, and he harbors nothing but enduring faith in her. She's trustworthy in her marriage, her decisions, her relationships, and her actions. This trustworthiness brings the assurance that her keen understanding and good sense will direct her to make wise decisions. Consequently, he depends on her without any concern that she will let him down. His relationship with her gives him an excellent reason for depending on her. Because she's trustworthy, the husband doesn't lack for anything, the passage states. The Hebrew word for anything good brings to mind the plunder maybe that a victorious army would bring home after a battle during those times. Imagine the riches that would be gathered from the defeated army and the wealth to be taken from a fallen kingdom. Imagine, too, the joyful surprise of the faces of everyone back home when they beheld the plunder the victorious brought to them on their return. The husband of a noble woman enjoys that kind of surprise when he sees what his wife of noble character is able to bring into his life. Do those around you recognize you as someone who is trustworthy? If so, then you will find honor. Next, a person of noble character is good, not evil. Verse 12 states, she rewards him with good, not evil, all the days of her life. Lemuel tells us that living with a woman of noble character makes the life of her husband most rewarding. Her commitment to him rewards him with a consistent supply of blessings. Those who know them as a couple agree that she is the reason he has become a man who is settled, successful, and delighted with his life. He himself would say he wouldn't know what would become of him if the Lord hadn't brought her into his life. She only rewards her husband with good and not any kind of evil. I'm sure you've been around individuals, perhaps professing Christians, with whom you dread to interact with because you know that no matter what you do, their responses will not be good. It seems the only reward given by them is misery, hatefulness, or something evil. They have no desire to reward people with goodness. However, there are others who desire to reward others with goodness. Even in the most difficult situations, their reward is to be good to others. This person is usually viewed with honor because their reward is good. So do those around you recognize you as someone who is good? Do they know that you are one who will respond to others with a good heart? If so, then you will find honor. A person of noble character is also diligent. Verses 13 through 16 describes the diligence of a noble wife. She selects wool and flax and works with willing hands, it states. In verse 14, it states that she is like the merchant ships bringing her food from far away. Then in verse 15, she rises while it is still night and provides food for her household and portions for her female servants. And finally, in verse 16, she evaluates a field and buys it. She plants a vineyard with her earnings. In the days of Solomon, a woman earned a reputation of noble character by staying busy with projects that would benefit her family. For instance, she would invest large amount of time into the tedious chore of transforming wool and flax into thread. She would do this with willing hands, as described by this passage. She made the investment because she wanted to supply clothing for her family and to sell at the market other garments that she made. Now, during the reign of King Solomon, merchant ships from other nations would bring treasures to sell in Solomon's kingdom. We see that referenced in 1 Kings chapter 9 through chapter 10. And Solomon sent out merchant ships to bring back supplies and treasures as well. In the same way, a wife of noble character would provide for her family food that came from far away. She would extend her reach to the farthest corners of her world in order for her family to have what they needed. Additionally, a woman with noble character would greet the day well before sunrise in order to provide food for her entire household. She would also diligently pursue business ventures that would provide for her family. You see, a person of noble character is as diligent as the wife described in these passages. These people are determined to provide for their families and others in need and are always looking for the most prudent way to do it. Do those around you recognize you as someone who is diligent? Do you diligently pursue the things that will provide for your family or meet the needs of others? If so, then you will find honor. A person of noble character will also bring respect to the family. Verse 23 states, her husband is known at the city gates where he sits among the elders of the land. Some might say that the husband in this passage was already a wise man who had the respect of the elders, and that's why he chose a wife of noble character. Well, no one can argue the fact that this husband was pretty smart for marrying a wise woman. However, we must assume that this husband's leadership in the community had only been improved because of his wife's noble character. She brought respect to her husband by how she lived and how she helped him become a better man. He was known at the city gates and was given the honor of sitting among the elders of the land. My mom's name was Nelma, and my dad's name was Bill. Both of my parents were respected in my hometown, so I would always have people say to me, "Oh, you're Nelma's son," or "You're Bill's son." You see, their noble character brought honor to me. It's amazing how the noble character of one family member brings respect to other family members. This is equally true in a church body. The noble character of believers will bring respect to the entire church family and will increase the gospel influence of that church in the community. However, if someone in the church does not have a noble character, the respect level for that church and the gospel is diminished. Does your character bring respect to your family, to your church? Does it elevate the level of gospel influence your family members or church have in the community? If so, then you certainly are a person of honor. A person of noble character will be industrious. Verse 24 states this: she makes and sells linen garments. She delivers belts to the merchants. Merchants made their living by buying, selling, and trading merchandise from different parts of their world. Successful merchants developed a trained eye for quality. So when they traded in the city, they knew the woman of noble character by what she sold. They respected the skill and attention to detail that she put into her workmanship. That's why they would admire the linen garments she made with her own hands. And the belts she offered for sale reflected the same level of excellence. We already understand that a person of noble character, in this case, a wife, is not lazy, but is diligent. But now we see how diligence can lead to being industrious. A person of noble character may not have a career path or perhaps is currently unemployed due to financial circumstances. These and many other situations won't deter a person of noble character from being industrious. In our current financial crisis, a wise person will rise to the challenges he or she may face and become more industrious than ever in order to provide. These people will continually be looking for opportunities or will try to create them. You might be industrious in the way you manage bills, or you might learn to repair something in order to save money. Being industrious might mean taking an idea that you have and moving forward to explore how it can help provide an income for your family or use to help someone else. Or you might be industrious in your job in order to help your company deliver a better product or to save money. Being industrious can come in many different forms. The key is being industrious because you desire to do what is right in order to honor God and your family. Can you identify individuals that you would consider industrious? Can you identify ways in your own life in which you are industrious? Next, a person of noble character will be steady. Verses 25 through 27 describes it this way: strength and honor are her clothing, and she can laugh at the time to come. Her mouth speaks wisdom, and loving instruction is on her tongue. She watches over the activities of her household and is never idle. Steady people observe what is taking place and measures their response wisely. This is strength and honor for them, and they wear it like tailored garments. In this passage, the wife's steadiness is described in this way. First, the future doesn't frighten her. She faces the uncertainties of the time to come with stalwart determination. Instead of wringing her hands with anxiety as she deals with unsettling challenges that greet her, she can laugh about them. She has complete confidence that she can handle the struggles that will come her way. She's able to speak wisdom and loving instruction because of her steadiness. She is steady in how she watches over her family because she is never idle. Her steady approach to each day serves as a worthwhile model for all believers. A commitment to work coupled with good stewardship of time helps to nourish a good reputation that speaks well of our relationship with the Lord. In turn, our reputation serves as a way to have a positive impact on others for Christ. Verses 28 through 29 states that a person of noble character will be honored. Verse 28, her children rise up and call her blessed. Her husband also praises her. Verse 29, many women have done noble deeds, but you surpass them all. When her wise husband observes the blessing he's been given in such a remarkable mom and wife, her children and husband can't stop singing her praises. That's why they declare her to be the best woman in the world. She surpasses them all. Nothing can compare to children, spouses, or other family members saying they were blessed by your wise leadership. This should be something we all long to hear. When you are showered with appreciation for enriching others' lives, they validate the value of your hard work. Whether it's in a family situation, as a church leader, or a leader in the community, the greatest honor you could have is for people to say to you how blessed they were by your wise and godly leadership. But there is one blessing that surpasses all of these. That is the blessing of hearing Jesus Christ state to us, "Well done, good and faithful servant." That will be a day of honor that no one could ever forget. All of these descriptions of a person of noble character hinge on one very important quality. A person of noble character will fear the Lord. Verses 30 through 31 describes it this way. Charm is deceptive and beauty is fleeting, but a woman who fears the Lord will be praised. Give her the reward of her labor, and let her works praise her at the city gates. We live in an era where outward image seems to be king. The image coaching business is huge as people coach you to look, speak, and act a certain way. Cosmetic surgery is huge business as people pursue that perfect look. As a matter of fact, in February of 2020, the American Academy of Facial, Plastic, and Reconstruction Surgery, and that's a mouthful, they released the results of their 2019 survey. And this is what they discovered. They reported that 72% of their members saw patients seeking cosmetic procedures to look better for their selfies, of all things. That's up 15% from the previous year. In addition, if that's not enough, surgeries to improve their social media profile pictures, of all things, was up by 11% over 2018. I know of leaders of businesses and even ministries who have hired image coaches and consultants. They are obsessed with reflecting a certain, and might I add, fake image in their leadership role. Sadly, this has led many leaders to ignore their inner character, or it has led people around that leader to ignore the leader's inner character. While we should all look and act our best, we should be aware that we can become obsessive with outward characteristics. When our outer image and character, or as the passage describes, our charm and beauty becomes more important than our inner character, again, as the passage describes the fear of the Lord, we have lost perspective. Only through a vibrant and growing relationship with Christ will our true character be revealed. Oh, and by the way, the outward flaws that can't be changed, they won't matter to those who are really growing in godly wisdom, and they shouldn't matter to you either. Additionally, if we define others' worth or leadership value by their outer charm and beauty, then we have also lost our perspective regarding what defines a person of noble character. Do you judge someone by their personality, or as the passage describes, their charm, or their looks, which is described as beauty? Do you judge someone by those before knowing about their relationship with the Lord? Do you assume someone can't be a leader because of how they look? Do you treat people differently based on how they look, or the type of personality they have, or even by the type of accent they have? If so, perhaps you need to take a spiritual reality check and have some long discussions with the Lord, asking Him to help you look for the noble characteristics in people. Before we close, I want to share with you that this chapter is very special to me. My wife, Becky, and I, we were dating, and God took me to this passage many, many years ago. And in that passage, He revealed to me the very special and noble character of my soon-to-be bride. Her character was not only special, but her wisdom, her relationship with the Lord, and her noble character was something that has made me a better and stronger man, a stronger father, a stronger believer, and a stronger church leader. It was her noble character that has led to our sons growing into godly fathers, husbands, and leaders. It is her noble and godly character that I admire to this day. She is truly more precious than the precious stones and jewels to me, and deserves all the rewards of her labor and all the praise for her good works. That's how people with a noble character impacts the lives of others. You can be that kind of person as well. But you know, it seems we have a shortage of people in general who reflect noble characteristics today. They seem to be as rare as the precious stones and jewels described at the beginning of our passage of study today. Will you take the challenge to become a person of noble character? If so, what character traits described today do you need to add to or improve upon in your life? Or perhaps you need to take the first step of fearing the Lord. Do you know Jesus Christ? If not, this is the first step in becoming a person of noble character. Look for ways this week to honor other believers and family members who demonstrate noble character.